Hey, this is Kamori, and today we're going to talk about how to cut fabric. First, let's talk a little bit about the fabric itself. As you can see, this fabric is a printed cotton, and it has a very obvious right side and wrong side to it. So as you can see, the right side is much more vibrant, and the wrong side is definitely a bit duller. On either side of the fabric, you can see that it has an area where the edges are finished, and sometimes it may have a slightly different texture than the rest of the fabric. This is called the selvage, and this is where the fabric is hooked onto the loom during the manufacturing process. For a woven fabric like this, you can describe the fabric as having a grain. So the straight grain is going to go parallel with the selvage, and this is how most patterns are oriented for cutting. Then you have a cross grain that goes perpendicular to the selvage, and going at a diagonal from the selvage is the bias. When positioning your pattern onto your fabric, you'll notice that a lot of patterns have a line drawn on them, and this is to orient the pattern based on the grain of the fabric. So we're going to line up the line so that it is going along the straight grain or parallel to the selvage up top. Along with having a right side and a wrong side, this fabric also has a direction to it. So this is something to keep in mind when you are placing your pattern pieces onto your fabric to make sure that the direction is lined up the way you want it to go. For example, when I'm cutting out the pattern pieces, I want to make sure that Belle and the Beast are standing up, and they're not going sideways, and they're not upside down in the finished piece. Some patterns say for the pattern to be placed on the fabric along the fold. So what you're going to do is fold the fabric in half, then line up the arrows and the edge of the fabric, and pin the pattern piece into place. When cutting out your fabric, you want to have a nice flat area for you to lay the fabric down on. The ideal way would be to use a nice cutting table. They do sell cutting mats at fabric stores if you don't have a cutting table, or you can do what I do and just lay it out on the floor. One thing to keep in mind is you definitely don't want to lay the fabric out on something soft like a bed and cut out the pattern pieces. One, you don't want to accidentally cut the bedding or the sheets, and two, because the fabric is going to be sinking in and moving while you're cutting, you may not end up cutting in a straight line. When it comes to actually cutting your fabric, you're going to want to use a pair of fabric scissors. Regular kitchen scissors may not be sharp enough to cut through the fabric, and you also want to make sure that you are only using your fabric scissors for fabric. If you use them for other things, even paper, it can nick and dull the blade, and your scissors will stop cutting as effectively over time. When you are cutting the fabric, you want to keep the scissors as close to the ground as possible to keep them steady, and just slow and steady at your own pace to cut out your material. And that was how to cut fabric. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any other suggestions for any tutorial videos you'd like to see me make, let me know in the comments below. For more cosplay sewing videos, please subscribe, and thank you very much for watching!